Hi friends, welcome back to another video. For those of you who are new here, my name is Oge. I am getting my PhD in astrophysics and I'm sharing my journey with all of you guys here on YouTube. So today's video is going to be all about what even is a PhD in astrophysics. I came across this question recently and it never occurred to me that there are people out there who don't know what a PhD is. So I'm going to break it all down here for you today and hopefully you'll have a better understanding of what it means, and it'll maybe help you decide if you think doing a PhD is worth it or not. So without further ado, let's get into it. So to start, what is a PhD? A PhD is just the highest degree of education that you can possibly get. Usually how it goes is you get your undergrad or your bachelor's, and then you get your master's, and then you get your PhD. However, that varies, I think, from, field to field. So for example, here in the States, when you get a PhD in astrophysics or in physics in general, you kind of take your master's and your PhD and you scrunch it all together in one program, and that's just your PhD program. So essentially what it is, it's your first 2 years, or it's like your master's, and you will take a series of classes that go more in depth about topics that you've learned in undergrad. Your last 3 to 4 years of your program will consist of doing research and producing science to showcase what you've learned, and shows all of the specialized skills, and you'll become basically a published scientist by the end of your program. I know some of these will kind of vary from institution to institution, so I will base a lot of this video on how the program specifically operates at the University of Washington, which is where I go to school. So as I just mentioned, the first 2 years will consist of a series of classes. And here at UW, it's required that you take 7 core classes that are specifically within the astronomy department. And then you are allowed to take 2 electives. And those 2 electives can be from whatever department. It can be anything like adjacent to your field of study, or it can just be anything out of pure curiosity. The choice is yours. I know it seems like a lot because, you just got out of undergrad, or you just got out of your master's program, and you come into a PhD program and you're thinking, oh my God, I have to take more classes. Even though it sucks, trust me, I swear some of it is actually worth it though, because you get exposure into a variety of different fields and subjects that you probably didn't even know was a thing. For example, I study galaxies, and last year I took a class in exoplanets. I didn't know anything about exoplanets, but it was so cool. And you literally get to learn it from the best of the best, because the faculty who teach the classes are literally the best in their field. So it's very cool to see things and get to understand things from some of the best scientists in the whole world. Also in undergrad, you are not exposed to a lot of the different materials that you learn in grad school. I know that in a lot of universities in the US, astronomy or like astrophysics isn't offered in quite a few universities. So you are just taking like physics classes, or you're a physics major, and then, if there is like one astrophysics class offered, then you take it. So I know that usually we get a lot of students in graduate programs who have never taken any astronomy classes before, but they have interest. So I think it's very important to get exposed to some of that. Like if you want to be an astrophysicist, but you've only taken physics classes before, it's very important that you know the astro side of it and not just the physics side. Not only that, once you do have a better understanding of all of these different subjects and areas of the field, I think it helps you make up your mind what you want to research after you are done with classes. The longer that you take, or like the longer that you have to try to decide, what it is that you want to do your research in, the longer that your degree could possibly span out. A PhD program can be anywhere from like 5 to 7 years. I've seen people do longer as well. So if you are very hesitant in choosing a specific area of research, you could end up being in a PhD program for like 8 years. But if that's okay with you, then wonderful. Do whatever your heart desires. Although I am trying to be done in like 6 years if I can. I'm already dedicating my entire youth to this. So anyways, and so then after you have completed all of your classes, then you have gotten your master's and you've mastered out. And if you would choose to continue in your PhD program, then after those 2 years of classes, you will get involved in research. Whenever you enter your PhD program, right off of the bat, one thing you're going to want to do is find a supervisor. And when I say supervisor, that is just going to be someone who you can see yourself doing research with and who your research goals on like projects and interests align with. Something that I forgot to mention is that when taking classes, it also allows you to get to know the different faculty within the department. So that way, that will help you narrow down your choices when it comes to choosing a supervisor as well. Because you don't want to work with somebody that you don't like, right? So now, once you are done with your classes, then you will be on to the next part in your PhD program, which is research. One thing that I think I kind of left out in the beginning is that you want to start doing research pretty much as soon as you get into grad school. So I know that I said the first 2 years are going to mainly be taking classes, but you also will be doing research within those 2 years as well. You won't be getting as much research done just because with classes on top, it's very hard, as well as TAing, it's very hard. But you still want to try to get as much exposure to research as possible, but you will be doing research the entire time, not just within the last like 3 to 4 years of your program. So when you're in the research part of your program, then you will be working very closely with one supervisor on whatever project that it is. Every week, you will check in with them. You will attend an assortment of different like meetings. They will make sure that you're staying on top of your goals, that you're staying on top of your project. And they're basically going to be like your guide and your mentor and building you up into being the scientist that you are to become later on at the end of your degree. They will help push you in your areas of research. They will help you in terms of writing and publications. They will also help you in terms of exposure, getting out into conferences, preparing talks, preparing posters that you're going to present, and also they're there to help you in terms of networking and expanding your network of collaborators to possibly get you into huge collaboration groups that will hire you in the future, or hire you to be a postdoc or a professor, which is very important if you would like to continue your career in academia. Along the way within your program, there are going to be some like required academic milestones that you surpass to continue your program. So for example, here at UW, there are a couple of like qualifier exams that you have to pass to continue on. So after you are done with your classes, and after you are done with your first project, it's expected that you take the qual or the qualifying exam. And what this is like an oral presentation, and you just present your work, your first project, to the entire department, essentially. And it's required that you have a paper, a scientific paper, ready to publish by the time you give this presentation. It's like a 25 to 30-ish minute presentation, and then there are questions afterwards, and then you'll meet with a committee that will ask you a series of questions after the exam is over with, and then they will basically grade you, like, yes, you pass, or no, you failed. If you don't pass the exam, then you'll have to retake the exam after maybe some remediation. I'm not really sure. I don't know anyone that hasn't passed before. I think usually they try to pass everyone. And then there is another exam, which is called the general exam. And so the general exam is also another oral presentation, and they will give you a specific topic that's not exactly what you're doing research in, but slightly adjacent to, and you are to research this topic over the course of a week. So they give you your subject, you have exactly 1 week to read up about it and become an expert about it, and then you present basically a colloquium style, or you give like an hour-long talk about what you have learned. And also kind of the same thing to the entire department. Afterwards, there's questioning by a smaller committee as well, and then they will grade you again. Yes, you passed, or no, you did not pass. And once you've passed your general exam, then you are officially a PhD candidate, meaning that you can start thesis writing. One requirement that comes with the general exam also is you have to have a thesis proposal written as well by the time you give the talk. Every university has a different qualifying exam style or qual style. I do know that there are still a lot of universities that have written exams, and it's like maybe 5 or 6 exams. I remember at my undergrad university in Oklahoma, I want to say that there were 5 qualifying exams, and they were all like physics, I believe. If anybody goes to OU and knows otherwise, please leave a comment down in the below correcting me. But from what I remember hearing, I think there were like a series of like 5 exams, all in physics, and maybe 1 astronomy exam. But they were all written exams, maybe like 2 or 3 hour long exams, and you had to pass, I want to say, all 5 of them to be considered as like a PhD candidate. And if you didn't pass those exams after your first 2 years, then you couldn't continue the program, and they would simply just like grant you your master's. I think there are some remediation courses that are offered if you don't pass your qualifying exams after your like 2nd attempt or something like that, but I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, it varies from institution to institution. I know some universities are trying to lean away from written exams, especially given the fact that written exams aren't necessarily the best at like measuring your level of intelligence, especially if it's not in a subject that you specialize in. As someone who works in galaxy theory, is it really proving my intelligence that I aced this exam on quantum mechanics? Not really. Especially given the fact I don't use quantum mechanics in my research. So at the end of your 6th or 7th year, then you will take your final exam, which is basically defending your thesis. And so what your thesis consists of, it consists of like 3 projects that you have done over the course of your entire time in grad school. And you will present all of that within like an hour-long talk. Not only that, but you have to have a write-up of your thesis, which I think is like 100 pages or more. And once you give that presentation or your defense of your thesis, and then that is approved by a committee and you pass, then you're done. You are a PhD. Congratulations, doctor. Another thing that I wanted to mention, which is easily one of the best parts of grad school, is that grad school for physics and astronomy programs in the US are fully funded. And what do I mean by that? Is that they are entirely paid for. So you don't have to pay for tuition, which I know is a huge factor with your undergraduate education. Here in the US, baby, paying tuition is insanely expensive. However, I think that this might be unique to STEM, maybe not even just STEM, maybe just physics and astronomy, to be completely honest, because I know that other PhD programs or other like doctorate programs, say for like medicine and engineering, I know those aren't fully funded, but with astronomy it is. So what do I mean by that is your tuition is fully paid. Not only that, but it's kind of like a job. So you get paid for doing research as well. It's not a whole lot of money. Granted, we are not making that much out here as grad students, but you know, it's still nice because I can afford to live in an apartment and, you know, buy groceries and occasionally go out and have fun. So how exactly do you get paid? That's a wonderful question. You get paid through different ways. So one way that you get paid is through TAing or being a teacher's assistant. If you don't know exactly what a TA is, you're literally just an assistant to a professor that is teaching an undergrad level class. So you will assist them with grading, hosting labs, so on and so forth. If you want to know more details about what it's like to be a TA, I posted a video about it a while ago, and I'll also link it so you can go to that video and check it out. For most universities, it's like only a requirement for 1 year to be a TA, but then after that, you can have funding through an RA-ship. And so an RA is a research assistant. So that is when you are doing research with your supervisor, for example, and they have funding to pay you. And usually they get funding through applying for grants. So if they apply for, say, a NASA grant that they have for some project proposal about measuring the atmosphere of Saturn's moons. That's really random, but whatever. So say they were given a grant from NASA and that's the project that you're working on. So they will use their grant money to pay you and support you to working on that project. Another way to get paid is also if you apply for your own grant. So the National Science Foundation, or NSF, they have different like graduate fellowship programs that you can apply to, or they'll basically give you money to like support you being a grad student and doing research. However, there's an application process where you also have to put in a proposal of like what it is you're doing, who you're working with, and so on and so forth. That's also another way to get paid as well. And usually if your supervisor does not have any funding to pay you, or if you did not get a grant per se, you always have a backup of being a TA. So you will also have to be a TA like on top of your research responsibilities, something to keep in mind. So all in all, pretty much the purpose of getting a PhD program is to prepare you to being an academic. I mean, granted, if you're applying to a PhD program and you're in a PhD program, you're most likely already an academic. But however, mainly it's to prepare you into being a professor. So to summarize this, basically, grad school is like being in school, as well as kind of like a job, as well as kind of like a social experiment, as well as like career planning. And the way that I think of it is, one of my friends told me this, and this is, I have the same exact view, is grad school is kind of like summer camp, except it's a summer camp that's 6 to 7 years long. You know, you're there to meet people and vibe and learn new skills, whether they be like leadership skills, career building skills, social skills that are going to propel you into a better career in the future. I feel like that's a very generous way of thinking about it, and it makes grad school feel and seem a lot less torturous than it is. It's not that, okay, it's maybe torturous is a stretch, but grad school is very overwhelming, although I don't think it's impossible to do. But that's just a way to think of it to make it a little less daunting. It's like summer camp, you know? You just go in, go out, learn some stuff, say hi, and you make a couple of bucks while doing it. Well, that part's not summer camp, but I hope this video is helpful for you. If you have any more questions about grad school, feel free to leave comments down below. I would be more than happy to explain things that maybe went unexplained. If anybody is watching this video and they're in their PhD program, let me know what year you are, and also let me know what institution that you are studying at. I'm super curious to know like where people are watching from. As usual, thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to see you guys in the next video, and with that, I will see you guys later. Bye.